What's up, fam? It's your boy Legend, and I am back with another video. Now, quick disclaimer, I have a lot of pain meds in my system. So, if I'm slurring my speech or anything, I just don't sound into it, that's why. Now, we are on, I think, day 5 of me recording videos while in the hospital. But that's besides the point. You already know what this is just by looking at the thumbnail. The final part of what if Naruto was a solo badass. Now, don't be mad that this series is ending. There will be other series that will take this series spot. Not immediately, but there will be more series to come. More series that will be better than this one. But it was inevitable. This was always going to be a short series, and now it has to come to an end. The like goal for the video is going to be 5 likes. So hit that like button, subscribe while you at it. But without further ado, let's get into this intro so we can start this what if.
さすがは仮にも影の名を背負う忍びたちだ。ならば内浜田らも全力で応えよう。おかげも何も全てが無駄になることを。
Konoha was alive with the low buzz of evening transition shinobi returning from missions, shopkeepers closing their stands, and children being called home for supper. But one figure ran through it all with no concern for the world around her. Kushina Uzumaki's scarlet hair trailed behind her like a wildfire, a visual representation of the panic flooding through her soul. Her breath tore through her lungs, tears streaming unimpeded down her cheeks, cutting crimson lines through the dust on her face. Her sandals slapping hard against the cobblestone roads as she sprinted. Villagers turned their heads, startled by the blur of motion and the grief-stricken sobs echoing from her throat. But she didn't see them. She couldn't see them. All Kushina could see was the door to the Konoha General Hospital ahead. And all she could hear was Mikoto Uchida's trembling voice replying like a cursed mantra in her head. Kushina, it's Naruto. He's been taken to the hospital. It's bad. It was a mission. It wasn't real. It was a setup. A setup. The words clanged around her head like bells, tolling doom. She hit the hospital doors like a storm bursting through them, with such force that they slammed against the walls. Nurses jumped in alarm. Patients peeked out of the rooms, and the front desk attendants stumbled out of the chair. Kushina was frantic, her eyes wide and wet with horror. Where's Naruto Uzumaki? Her voice echoed through the white halls with such desperate authority that no one dared delay. A nurse, young, pale, clearly startled, stood up quickly and pointed. OR3, they're operating on him now. Kushina was already gone. She flew through the hallway like a hurricane, barreling past medical personnel who shouted after her, turning corners recklessly until she reached a door marked Operation Room 3. But before she could throw it open, 4 medical ninja intercepted her. You can't go in there, one of them said, straining against her strength as she tried to rip past him. You'll compromise the surgery. That's my son, Kushina roared, her chakra flaring violently, briefly, forcing one of the medics to stumble back. Let me go! Naruto! Still, they held her. It took all four men to keep her from smashing through the reinforced door. Her thrashing stopped only when her eyes locked onto the window set into the doorframe. Through the glass, she saw him, Naruto, her baby. He lay motionless on the operating table. A sterile blue surgical drape covered most of his body, but the exposed left side revealed a horrific sight. Sakura Haruno's hands glowed green. Face taut with focus and panic, was elbow deep into his chest, desperately trying to repair what looked like a mangled lung. Another medic carefully replaced bloodied gauze, while two others kept Naruto intubated and breathing through machines. A metal tray off to the side held three blood-stained kunai. Her heart clenched at the sight. Her legs gave out. She crumpled to her knees, arms still restrained but no longer resisting. Her breath came in rapid, shallow gasps. The nurses had to hold her upright. Kushina had always feared the day that Naruto would follow in her and his father's footsteps as a shinobi, but nothing had prepared her for this. Nothing could have. Tears dripped from her chin as her body quivered. Her son was dying. Inside Naruto's mindscape, everything was black, except for the pale, flickering lights overhead. Naruto walked slowly through the void, his hand shoved deep into his pockets, the pockets of a long celestial cloak that shimmered faintly with each step. Next to him, padding along silently on all fours, was a smaller version of Kurama, the Nine Tails, barely the size of a Great Dane. They walked side by side without speaking for a time. There was no ground, no sky, just shadow and the dim remnants of lights above them. I'm sorry, I never got to actually know you, Kurama. Naruto finally said, his voice echoing faintly in the blackness. Kurama kept his gaze ahead, his tone calm. It's fine, Naruto. I'm just glad you weren't a terrible Jinchuriki, even if you didn't use my chakra all that much. You simply had no reason to. You were strong enough on your own, until the end. Naruto gave a short, humorless laugh. Yeah, I don't feel too strong right now. Above them, one of the lights shattered, the sound distant, like a bottle breaking underwater. Naruto didn't even react to the sound, but Kurama did. He glanced up briefly, his face hard to read. After a few paces passed, in silence, he spoke. Naruto, the fox suddenly said, are you not afraid to die? Naruto exhaled. Honestly, Kurama, I am. I'm terrified, but I think I'm only afraid because of my regrets. He stopped walking. I regret not spending more time with my friends. I regret not making peace with Ino. And I regret not getting to know you sooner. Kurama stopped too. His ears flicked. For a moment, his body trembled with an emotion Naruto couldn't place. Then, another light overhead burst. This time, however, Naruto looked up. Huh. Kinda weird there's even lights in a place like this. Kurama grinned. It was the first real smile Naruto had ever seen from him. That's a good sign, Kurama muttered. What is? You're noticing things. The lights. Another bulb exploded. Naruto winced at the sharp crackle. You're still connected to the outside. They're trying to bring you back. Those lights, they're defibrillators, shocking your body. You flatlined, Naruto. You died. Naruto froze. His heart, or something like it, stopped for a beat. Kurama stepped closer. But the fact that you're still here and still you means there's a chance. A glimmer of hope danced in Naruto's eye. Then everything went white. Scene change. On the battlefield with Itachi and Orochimaru. Lightning crackled overhead as black storm clouds rolled across the sky. They weren't natural born, but instead from raw chakra and summoned fury. The forest around them had long since been obliterated. The battlefield was now a cratered wasteland of molten earth and shattered trees. Itachi Uchiha stood within the upper half of his Susanoo, his final defense. The spectral warrior loomed over him, clad in celestial armor, a glowing Totsuka blade in the right hand and the Yatamira in the left. His Mangekyo Sharingan bled with exertion. Across from him, Orochimaru cackled in ecstasy. Very good, Itachi. You always impress me at every stage of our little battle. He clapped his hands together. Summoning Jutsu! 3 massive clouds of smoke erupted from the ground. First came Manda, the colossal serpent, but his eyes weren't his own. They were Renegon, and they stared back in a haunting, unnatural calm. Then came a 2-headed dog, also bearing the Renegon eyes and receiver rods jutting from its eye. And last, a monstrous rhino, its body covered in piercings and scars. Its own Renegon gaze was locked onto Itachi. Orochimaru leaped atop Manda with a serpentine grace. Destroy him! The beast charged. The dog split in two, flanking Itachi Susanoo from both sides, and the rhino barreled head on. Inside the Susanoo, Itachi clenched his teeth. Blood trickled from both of his eyes as he roared. The rhino erupted into black flames of Amaterasu, devouring its body in seconds. The left hand of the Susanoo hurled the Yatamira like a discus, slamming into the left dog and repelling its charge. With a spin, the right hand pierced the second dog with the Totsuka blade. The beast howled before vanishing into the sake gourd, sealed forever. The mirror returned like a boomerang, smashing into the other dog and flinging it into the blaze. Both summons vanished in a puff of smoke. Itachi breathed heavily. His chakra was dwindling. Manda slithered forward with Orochimaru perched on his head. Orochimaru then disappeared underground along with Manda. Itachi closed his eyes, drawing his last reserves inward. The ground exploded beneath him as Manda lunged. The Susanoo's left hand seized the snake by the neck in a death grip. The right hand then formed the Yasaka beads. The condensed chakra was then slammed into Manda's skull. The snake twisted and twitched violently before it dropped limp. Itachi panted. He couldn't sense Orochimaru until he felt it. Warm blood. He looked down. A hand protruded from his chest. Orochimaru was inside the Susanoo. I must say, Itachi, it's rather comfortable in here. Itachi didn't scream. He didn't panic. He smiled. Then his form exploded in black flames. Another clone. From the ground, Behind Orochimaru, the real Itachi emerged, Totsuka blade already in motion. This is the end. The blade plunged into Orochimaru's back, through his heart. Orochimaru gasped. His form twisted and shrieked, then warped and slowly began to dissolve, sealed forever. And Itachi collapsed, blood pooling beneath him. Itachi Uchiha stood trembling, the remnants of his chakra barely holding his battered body upright. As the final embers of black flame swallowed the last of Orochimaru, sealing him forever within the Totsuka blade, Itachi's chest heaved violently. He panted with exhaustion, every breath a strain. Blood streamed from his eyes in twin rivers, streaking down his face as the last remnants of his Mangekyo Sharingan dissolved into a dull, lifeless gray. He blinked once, then again, but the darkness remained. He was blind. He staggered, nearly falling to his knees, unable to move with any strength. The silence that followed the battle was broken only by the sound of dry leaves crunching under careful footsteps. Itachi turned his head toward the sound, instinctively. Come on, brother. Let's get you up into the house. The voice was steady, calm, and unmistakably Sasuke's. From a distance, Sasuke had witnessed the final exchange, a mixture of awe and horror in his heart. He hadn't known Itachi still had such power in him, and seeing Orochimaru sealed with such finality brought an almost surreal weight to his chest. Sasuke stepped forward and gently slipped Itachi's arm over his shoulder. The older Uchiha did not resist. He couldn't. His strength had left him, but his pride remained intact. As the two brothers moved slowly through the forest, not another word was exchanged between them. Nothing more needed to be said. Meanwhile, back at the hospital, Kushina sat outside the recovery room where her son lay unconscious. Her hands trembled in her lap, clenched tightly together as she tried and failed to suppress the tears that wouldn't stop flowing. Mikoto sat beside her, holding her gently in a motherly embrace, whispering soft words of comfort that even she didn't fully believe. Mikoto, Naruto will live, right? Tell me Naruto will live and be okay. Kushina's voice cracked mid-sentence. Her lips trembled as the dread inside her chest gnawed at her sanity. Mikoto held her tighter, brushing her hand through Kushina's hair. He's strong. He's stronger than anyone I've ever met. If anyone can survive this, it's Naruto. In the corner of the room, Ino Yamanaka stood, turned away from the others. Her arms wrapped tightly around her chest, as if trying to contain the sobs that threatened to escape. Her whole body shook. She hated him, or at least she thought she hated him. But seeing him like this, on the verge of death, made all that anger feel meaningless. She wasn't the only one who had tears in her eyes. Gurren stood beside her, a trembling Yukimaru clinging to her side. The boy was sobbing openly, too young to understand everything but old enough to understand that Naruto had saved him. Naruto had saved him from Orochimaru, and now he might end up paying for it with his life. Even Gurren, the stoic crystal user, had red-rimmed eyes. Kushina looked up and noticed Ino shaking shoulders. It didn't matter what had passed between them. It didn't matter that Ino was her son's ex-girlfriend, or that there was heartbreak involved, along with betrayal. Kushina got up and walked over to her, without hesitation, wrapping her arms around the girl, who was trying so hard to pretend that she was fine. Ino broke. She turned and buried her face into Kushina's shoulder, sobbing uncontrollably. Gurren placed a gentle hand on her back, offering quiet solidarity. The door of the waiting room opened. Sasuke walked in, supporting a limping Itachi, whose now milky eyes scanned nothing. Gasps and murmurs echoed through the room as everyone realized what had happened to the proud elder Uchiha. Tsunade arrived shortly after, Moegi by her side. Both wore grim expressions. Even the Hokage's usual steel demeanor was fractured. Her eyes were glassy, and her jaw clenched tightly. The entire room fell into a hushed silence as Sakura emerged from Operation Room 3. Her gloves were stained in blood, and her pink hair was plastered to her forehead with sweat. She pulled the surgical mask down and took a deep breath, looking around at the anxious, tear-streaked faces. Okay, Naruto will live. Relief hit the room like a tidal wave. People stood up, gasping, crying, some clutching one another. Kushina made to rush in, but Sakura raised a hand. Wait, there's more you need to know. Naruto is still in critical condition. His left arm is gone. We don't have the material or resources to create a prosthetic at the time. His left lung had collapsed and was torn in 3 different places. And I managed to repair it, and the internal bleeding has been stopped. He has a ruptured eardrum, and that should heal on its own, but he's going to be unconscious for a while. When you go in, please let him rest. Sakura didn't wait for a response. She simply bowed her head, turned, and disappeared down the corridor, the weight of what she had just done clearly pressing heavily on her shoulders. Kushina was the first to move. One by one, they entered Naruto's room. The steady beeping of the heart monitor was the only sound. The young man who carried the weight of the world on his back now lay still in the center of a sterile white room, his face peaceful, his body broken. Kushina sat beside him on the right side and gently interlaced her fingers with his. She let out a trembling breath and smiled even through her tears. You're alive. Gurren stepped forward with Yukimaru beside her. She placed a hand gently on Naruto's bandaged forehead. Babe, I know you can't hear me, but I'm so happy you're alright. Me and Yukimaru will be here when you awake. We promise. Ino took her turn next. She stood for a long time in silence, just looking at him. Then in a quiet voice she began to speak. Naruto, ever since I walked in on you and... She stopped and glanced at Kushina, biting her lip. The words changed in her mouth. Ever since you slept with another woman while dating me, I thought I would hate you forever. But seeing you like this, all I want is for you to live. I can't even be mad anymore. I forgive you. She leaned down and kissed his forehead. Sasuke stepped up beside the bed with Itachi, holding his shoulder lightly. Hey, brother, Sasuke said, almost smirking. Can't believe I'm saying this, but you're one of the people I respect most. You made Team 7 fun. And hell. But mostly fun. Itachi turned his head toward the sound of Naruto's heart monitor. We never spoke much, he said, his voice soft and tired. But you're just as much my brother as Sasuke is. Don't worry about Orochimaru. He no longer exists. Mikoto walked over and sat gently on the edge of the bed. You may not be my son, Naruto, but you are a family to me. Always will be. I love you. She kissed his cheek, then walked back to her seat, brushing a tear from her face. Moegi approached last, her eyes filled with sorrow. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I was always a burden. You did everything to protect me, from the prison to everything that followed. Thank you for giving me a chance to live. Tsunade stepped up, clearing her throat. I know you can't hear this, brat, but you have every bit of my respect. You're one of the few shinobi who lived a life like this. You're a hero, multiple times over. I'm glad that I got to be your leader, but now you have to retire. You deserve peace. I'll make sure you and your family are set for the next 3 generations over. Finally, Kushina spoke. Can you all give us some time alone, please? Everyone slowly filed out, leaving her alone beside her son. She held his hand tightly, brushing her thumb across his knuckles. Naruto, you scared the shit out of me. But I'm happy you'll be alright. Her voice quivered, but she kept going. I want to apologize for everything. The bullshit I put you through. And even though it's taboo, even though it's wrong, I don't regret what we shared. Not a single moment. She leaned forward, pressing her forehead to his shoulder. I'm sorry for being selfish, for those abortions, for making you get those damn pills. I was stupid. 8 months ago, I was scared and reckless, and I'm so sorry. I'll never do that to you again. She paused, taking a shaky breath. Her lips trembled as she tried to speak the next word. I want you to know that I've learned I won't make that same mistake again. Because, Naruto, Kushina leaned forward, brushing her lips against his knuckles as tears streamed down her cheeks. I'm pregnant. She let the words hang in the air, her heart pounding in her chest as she kissed his hand again and laid her head beside it on the bed. Outside the room, everyone sat in heavy silence. Some prayed and others stared into nothing, but all of them, Gurren, Ino, Yukimaru, Tsunade, Moegi, Mikoto, Itachi, and Sasuke held on to one simple hope, that Naruto Uzumaki would wake up, and when he did, he would not be alone. 3 days had passed since the operation. The sterile scent of the hospital room lingered as sunlight filtered through the drawn blinds, casting golden rays into the bed where Naruto lay still, his chest rising and falling in slow, heavy motions. Then, without warning, his eyelids fluttered. He stirred, blinking the sleep from his eyes. Groggy and disoriented, his senses slowly returned, only for the pain to follow. Naruto gasped and let out a weak, broken whimper. Tears stung his eyes as a bolt of excruciating pain tore through his body. His left side felt like it had been torn open again. The absence of his arm created unbearable phantom pains, and every breath made his chest burn. His ribs ached, and it felt like his lungs had been run through a shredder. He gritted his teeth and squeezed something beside him, Kushina's hand. Kushina jolted awake from the immense pressure on her hand. Her eyes widened in alarm as she realized Naruto was awake. Naruto, are you okay? She cried out. Hang on, baby. I'll call the nurse. She hit the nurse button, and barely 30 seconds later, a nurse rushed in with a syringe. Naruto's body tensed as the medicine entered his IV, and within moments, the haze of the painkillers began to dull his agony. His body relaxed as his breath slowed, the high settling over him like a weighted blanket. But something was wrong. Kurama was silent, not a flicker of his chakra, not even a grumble. Naruto could feel the void left behind in his consciousness. It was likely that Kurama had gone dormant. He had been dead for 7 minutes after all. As his vision cleared, Naruto's eyes scanned the room. He blinked slowly, taking in the faces of everyone who had gathered around him. His breath hitched again, but this time from emotion. Kushina, Guren, Yukimaru, Mikoto, Itachi, Sasuke, Moegi, Ino, and Tsunade. They were all here. His family. Kushina climbed into the hospital bed beside him, wrapping her arms gently around his neck. He tried to return the gesture, though the pain and the fog of the medication. His remaining arm barely moved, and he instinctively reached for with the arm that no longer existed. The realization hit him again. He was incomplete. But Kushina clung to him, ignoring everything else. She cupped his face in her hands, tears in her eyes, and kissed him softly on the lips, trembling with relief. Naruto leaned into it as best he could, and in that moment, Naruto decided he was done. No more Anbu, no more missions. He'd lost too much. He was broken, incomplete. He deserved peace now. Kushina still held on to his face as she pressed her forehead to his. She hesitated, trying to get the words out. Naruto, She stopped, her breath shaky. Okay. Wow. This is harder than it needs to be. She took his right hand in both of hers. Naruto, I'm pregnant. His eyes went wide. So did everyone else's in the room. Ino and Guren didn't look all that surprised. They already knew who the father was. But the others, Mikoto, Sasuke, Moegi, Tsunade, they stood frozen in shock. Kushina opened her mouth to try and explain, but Naruto gently squeezed her hand, stopping her. She looked at him, confused, and he shook his head slowly. You're not explaining anything to them, Naruto said. His voice was hoarse, but firm, strong and protective. Let them wait. Once I get this pain under control, I'll tell them, not you. You don't have to do anything right now. Just rest. The room fell into a stunned silence. There was something commanding in his tone. Kushina stared at him, her heart skipping. He sounded like a man. A man that she could trust. A man to shield her from the world. Time skip. 8 months later. Naruto's life had changed completely. He no longer lived in the old apartment he once had. He now moved into a larger, more modern home, closer to the hospital. 2.5 times bigger than the last place that he and Kushina stayed. It was quiet, peaceful. It was a strange life for a former shinobi, but a welcome one. Kushina was now 8 months and 1 week pregnant. Gurren was 5 months along herself. Both women rounded with life. They were moving slowly through the kitchen, trying to finish up some light cleaning. Kushina was dressed in a flowing black gown with red slippers, leaning onto the kitchen counter, breathing heavily. Gurren stood beside her, panting as well, leaning against the table. Naruto walked in, followed by Yukimaru, who had grown taller in the past several months. Naruto was dressed in the normal black Anbu style pants and a red shirt. And when he walked in, he scowled at them. "What are you two doing?" he said, his voice full of playful scolding. "I told you to relax, but no. Apparently, neither of you know how to listen." He stopped, standing behind Kushina, shaking his head. "Yukimaru, come here. Stand behind Gurren. Time for you to learn something important," he said. "Something every man should know how to do. I'm telling you, it'll make any woman fall in love with you." Yukimaru ran and stood beside Gurren, curious. Kushina turned her head, eyebrows raised. "Naruto, what are you up to?" He didn't answer. He simply stood closer behind Kushina. "Alright, Yukimaru, you want to stand this close to Gurren, like this." Yukimaru nodded, mimicking Naruto's posture, his small form pressed against Gurren. She raised an eyebrow and laughed. Naruto wrapped his single arm around Kushina from behind, resting his hand beneath her swollen stomach. "Alright, next, you wrap your arms here, right under the belly. That's where you want your hands to be." Yukimaru nodded again and copied the motions. Because of his size, he had to press his torso against Gurren's back, making her cheeks flush, causing her and everyone else to laugh. Naruto then lifted on Kushina's belly slowly, with his one hand taking weight off of her spine and hips. She gasped, letting out a soft, surprised sound, leaning back into him like she was entranced. Gurren also experienced the same feeling as she let out a squeak and then a small moan as Yukimaru gently lifted some of the weight off of her as well. "See that?" Naruto smirked. "It takes about 10 to 15 pounds off her spine and hips, and some of her organs." Gurren's face had turned crimson, and she covered her mouth, clearly embarrassed by her reaction. Everyone was laughing. The tension melted from the room like morning fog, and as the laughter faded, Naruto looked around at the three of them. "Damn, this is real," he said, his voice lower now, more thoughtful. "I used to imagine this life with Ino, but I'm just as happy to live it with you, all of you. Of course, you too, Yukimaru." He placed a kiss on Kushina's temple. "You can't be fucking serious." "Alright, fam. Me and you are both going to pretend that that inconvenience did not just happen, and we are going to continue with this story. Man, I'm really going to become a dad of my own kids." Kushina turned her head, eyes filled with warmth and emotion. Gurren was smiling softly, watching the man she'd fallen for find peace. Yukimaru grinned, proud to be learning from his father figure. For the first time in a long time, Naruto Uzumaki felt complete. Not as a shinobi, not as a hero, but as a man, a protector, and a father. And finally, as someone who could call this new life his own. But guys, I'm going to end it off right there. That's where this series ends. This is one of the more cringy endings that I've given to a series, but I'm not even going to say that because it would have made it sound like I got some type of fetish or something. No. Yeah, no. If you guys enjoyed the video, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe right at it, and remember, do not be mad. There will be more series that will replace this one in the future. But without further ado, I am out, and I will see you guys in the next video. Stay blessed, y'all.